Welcome to our Devos this week, where we are looking at the important subject of how we are under attack. Pastor Mike and I have talked about this quite frequently, but it's important to remind you that we're living in a world that is controlled by evil forces. That shouldn't scare you, because you are on the side of God. God is your God. Jesus is your Savior. But it should cause you to want to be aware of how these attacks work. So this week, we're going to examine how the enemy attacks and what you need to do and what you need to be aware of to avoid those attacks. The first thing you need to be aware of is this. The main attack is deception. The main attack is deception. Now, I know, and I got a little bit, I know I could get a little bit of pushback when I talk about deception and lies and things, because I'm not going to talk to you about the things that most of us think about when it comes to the devil, namely like big evil creatures or demonic attacks and exorcisms and those types of things, which are true, okay? And the evil surrounding the occult, all of that is true. It's all evil. It really is. And the demonic activity, possession stuff, that's all real. And it all merits a conversation in and of itself. However, what you need to understand and what we fail to realize is that isn't the chief way that the devil attacks us in this day and age. The way that the devil really tries to get at you is through the elements of deception. It's lies. It's you believing lies. And I really was inspired to talk about this because of reading John Mark Comer's book, Live No Lies. I've talked about it at church. I've talked about it in devotions. But it really is one of the most accessible and reasonable treatments of spiritual warfare that I've probably read in my life. But I'm going to be referring to some of his teaching constantly as I go through this. But the main attack is deception. And the reason why is because the devil is cloaked constantly in deception. Jesus is the one that tells us this is going to be the way that he attacks. In fact, he's talking to his enemies here, the religious leaders who are trying to kill him. They mean to kill him. He says, the reason why you want to kill me is because you're just like your father. And this is what he says in John 8, verse 44. He says, you are of your father, the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He's a murderer just from the beginning, just like you want to be a murderer, and does not stand in the truth. Now pay attention to this. He says, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Now, notice Jesus doesn't even emphasize the murderer part. He does a little bit, but what does he emphasize here? This is God. He's telling us what we should know about the devil. He says, lies, lies, lies. He doesn't stand in the truth. There's no truth in him. Deception, deception, deception. So the main thing that the devil wants you to do is to be deceived. If you're deceived, if you believe something, the devil plants out deceptive thoughts everywhere through different means, okay? You accept those thoughts in the weakness and the frailty of our human flesh. And then our flesh is encouraged by this world to then move in a direction of that deception. This is the pattern that is laid out in John Mark Comer's book. He mentions it in almost every chapter. So I say to you right now, are you more aware of deception? Or are you looking for the creature in the corner? Because the devil is not necessarily going to appear as the creature in the corner. If he did, it would just be a moment of you being scared. But what's more dangerous is us being deceived and being unaware that we're deceived, or not being self-aware enough to really examine the deception in light of God's truth, which we're going to get to this week. But today, the whole purpose of this is I want you to be aware of the main tactic, the main thing that the devil uses right now in your life is deception. Belief in something false, something that has polluted itself and looks differently than what God is offering through his truth. So, don't be deceived. You're under attack, and know that deception is the main tool of the enemy.